They'd strobed into the One Rock system about half an hour earlier through an unguarded eidolon and were just now passing inside the orbit of the planet's first major moon. Zeet hoped this job would be a lot easier than the loot they were being paid suggested it would be. The mission objective was simple enough. Kill Vorkalina. Simple. But then Zeet looked up who this Vorkalina was and cursed his own mother for giving him birth. He didn't tell the crew the details, just that they'd been hired to kill a mark for a lot of money. A Gixen Jail. They were all near broke and more than a little desperate, and none of them could afford to turn away a job, especially not a job for the kind of coin this one offered. So they accepted the gig without much complaint, a couple of wide eyes and a small gasp from Davis, but after that, they mostly just nodded that they were in. Everyone knew that assaulting and or killing a Gixen Jail was a capital offense. Hell, nowadays it seemed like just looking at one of them got you sentenced to death. But Zeet was assured by their client that no one would ever find out about the job. He made that same assurance to his crew and added with a forced chuckle that, with what they were being paid, they could all change their identities and literally buy new families to complete the deception, if it came to that. Their client gave them a quarter of the payment up front, 4 million Murath. It took Zeet a few moments to think after seeing that amount of money in his account, after seeing the symbol for Murath, the official dominant currency of the Gixen Jail, accepted in every economy in every arc of the galaxy. 4 million. He and his crew were now rich, and with 12 million more on the way, each of them could do any and everything they ever dreamed about when this was done. But first, they had to kill the thing. Celebrating their prepayment on the Outrider, their ship, Zeet passed through his crying drunk phase, became happy and talkative, and then let slip just who the Gixen Jail was they were supposed to kill. That pretty much ended the party. Early the next morning found all 10 mercenaries researching and preparing for the task at hand. Somewhat embarrassed over his slip of the tongue from the night before, Zeet found himself smiling at the results all the same. They were a good crew. Their client said that a time and a place would be provided when it was auspicious for them to fulfill the contract. That was the word the client used. Auspicious. All Zeet and his crew needed to do was be ready to swoop in and drop the hammer. Easy. A short 4 days of prep went by, and then they got the word. Zeet couldn't have been happier with the setup. They had a whole uncharted and uninhabited planetary system to bang around in, and now, here they were. When they first strobed in through the system's only gate, Zeet thought the Outrider's sensors detected a ship in orbit around the target planet, but a second look showed nothing there. Must have been a ghost read of something from around our Alpha Point, Davis said from the co-pilot's chair. Yeah, maybe, Zeet replied uncertainly. The Outrider was a blocky old boat made up of a patchwork of parts, and they had had problems with ghost reads before, but Zeet's first reservations about this assignment began to creep back into his mind. All thoughts of this turning out to be an easy job dropped away, and he gave the command for everyone to suit up. And activate the shields, just in case, he commanded Davis. Better to take no chances. They would scan the planet using the Gixen Jail's biometrics they got from their client, and launch an orbital attack. Only then would Zeet send his people in to verify the kill. Pulling his thoughts back to the here and now, Zeet opens up a channel to the rest of his crew. Listen up, people, he begins. We run this job like we planned and it'll be a piece of cake. It's a good opening, Zeet thinks, and he really wants to believe it'll be just like that, like a piece of cake. But he can't shake the growing unease he feels about that ghost read. Show some backbone, he thinks to himself. He clears his throat to straighten out his thoughts and sits up a little. That's it. For the crew. He nods to himself, then continues. We make this as quick and as clean as possible. Me and Davis kill the thing from up here. You go down and make sure it's dead. Kill it if it's still moving. Grab what's left and then haul ass back up to the Outrider. No sightseeing. This ain't no pleasure cruise. A variety of informal and overly familiar affirmatives report back from the landing party. Amusement almost shows on Zeet's face. They all know the risks, and they all know the stakes. And even though the crew jokes about Zeet's overly cautious evaluation of every job they accept, they never let themselves get careless, and they always perform with a lethal, serious precision that makes their captain proud. Minutes later, near orbital insertion, Davis brings up the Sulaku drone's biometrics and initiates a full scan of the planet's surface. After a complete orbit of the planet, there's no sign of the creature. Maybe the Gixons got masking tech, Davis thinks, or maybe the monster's underground. Or maybe there's just too much other life down there interfering with the scan. Or maybe that ghost read they got from earlier was them detecting the Sulaku drone's ship just before it strobed out system. Davis turns back to his controls to change the parameters of his scan to search for resonance wake, one of the telltale signs of a ship strobe. But just before he punches in the first buttons of the command, the Outlier's comm scanner picks up a short communications burst. Gotcha, you sneaky bastard. Davis scrambles to find the source of the burst, but gets a confusing jumble of data. In the tense, pre-mission silence, the other 9 members of the crew give Davis questioning stares through their vidcasts, Zeet from the seat next to him. Ignoring their eager eyes and their unspoken impatience, and leaving the source location of the burst for later, Davis focuses on the reception point for the communication. No confusion there. We got unidentified comm acknowledgement at the mouth of a large tropical river. Relaying the coordinates now. The 8 members of the crew going planetside, now suited and armed to the teeth, hustle over to the landing shuttle while storing the coordinates in their individual nav systems. Zeet enters the location and the Outlier's targeting computer, activates the full spectrum communications jammer, fires up the weapon systems, and actually smiles. All worry about that ghost read swept away by the immediacy of the hunt. Several blasts rock the ship. Davis is thrown from his seat. Multiple ship function, hull breach, and life support alarms blare through the Outlier's corridors. Zeet blinks heavily, shakes his head, blinks again, and stares at the exterior vidcast, dumbstruck by the sight of the Fakal shadow bearing down on them with its weapons blazing. Zeet opens his eyes again. He doesn't remember closing them. He becomes aware of a ringing in his head, wonders what time it is. He looks around sluggishly, a dull throbbing above his ear. Davis climbs back up to the co-pilot's controls next to him, yelling. Why can't he hear Davis yelling? Why is his head throbbing? He looks back up at the exterior vidcast. Things look different outside. How much time has passed? He puts his hand to the side of his head and feels a wetness. Davis comes over with a concerned expression, still yelling. All Zeke can hear is that damn ringing. Where the hell is that coming from? Davis straps him in. Zeke reaches down to resist. He isn't some child. His hand is covered in blood. He holds it up. Is he bleeding? Another series of blasts rock the ship. Davis falls away. The command cabin's lights flicker off and on. Davis returns with a small med patch and slaps it on the right side of Zeet's head. A wave of cool clarity sweeps through Zeet's consciousness. The Outlier rocks again. Zeet looks over to see Davis strapping into the co-pilot's chair. Alarms go out as Davis silences them, one by one. What's going on? Zeet asks a little too thickly. We're getting skull-fucked. That's what's going on, Davis yells. You weren't strapped in. You hit your head. You'll be fine. The others left for the surface, but the shuttle got trashed. I think some of them made it. Get your shit together and help me get us out of this.